he was thrown across the room. The teacher did not accept their responsibility, they'd done something wrong, and the individual, Elliot E., was seen to be the wronged party to the teacher. The teacher was only suspended on compassionate leave. This led to a very angry and resentful young boy who began a number of behavioural negatives of low-level disruption, verbal abuse, and other aggressive outlets. Consequently, Elliot was suspended and excluded from school on too many occasions. To compound this, he had an antisocial behaviour tendency that led to arson with his colleague, causing the death of a vagrant who was sleeping in the building site at the time. Elliot also nearly died of a drug overdose induced by binge drinking and friends he thought were his friends. He was also given medication that meant he could not sit still for any more than 2 minutes when I met him. Impossible. I didn't think it could happen. Elliot, however, is an excellent swimmer and likes football. He also plays a lot of computer games, Xbox, etc. However, the games he was playing was Grand Theft Auto. Anyone know of Grand Theft Auto? Well, let me tell you something now. If there is one game that will destabilise society, it is that game. Both in its original, I think there are 3 versions of that game now. It will destroy us. When we get back after lunch, and by the way, at the time when I read this out, a connections advisor said I've got 99 Elliots on my casebook. And that really scared me. 99 Elliots on his casebook. So I decided that I was going to try and see if I could socially coach an Elliot in order to work with the neat hotspot, the Blackpool 6, and we'll hear a bit from the Blackpool 6 afterwards, because I realised I could not help them without lying to them or not responding or getting the response these young people have shared. It would have been a promise I couldn't keep. And then their mobile phones changed all too quickly and often. So the texts that you send don't reach them because they move at such speed and there's always a better deal. Some use emails and I think only one parent. And this was mother and father, and their son didn't speak for the whole 2 hours. Had nothing to say. However, his eyes lit up when he mentioned Harry Potter. Well, that was what we needed to engage him with. But his parents didn't think that's what he should be doing. So give some thought to Elliot how we might collectively assist him in realising his potential. I looked at what was out there. I spoke to the Northwest Regional Development Agency. I spoke to the cultural consortia. I spoke to all the regional entities, the Government Office for Northwest, all the youth agencies, the Prince's Trust, the Edinburgh Award, and there wasn't a one-stop shop. There was a Central Manchester Employers Alliance who said we want to employ young people, but we don't know how to engage them. And I felt it was the high time that we needed something that actually reflected what young people want to do and having some of the features that they get from other social network sites, but would actually reflect how they got the tools, the confidence, the communication, the culture, and the more effective working of how we map, track, and route their progress. Youthwise to Work is what it was called because the Youthwise program was inspired by the young people I started working with in Manchester 12 years ago, because once we engaged them, we needed to pass them on to employment. As I've said, of those 20 young people we worked with, only one ended up in prison. Odessa was in Hollywood writing her first Hollywood script. Byron Kalam is a teacher, now a father. And Karen's got a small business. Daniel still doesn't know what he wants to do, but he's still trying. Naru worked on a youth engagement program. It goes on and on and on. But what they had was a continued relationship that used and recognised human interaction, and be in no doubt, this is not a replacement, but all this does is effectively use the one thing we will all have to get used to using, but it allows us to effectively communicate, articulate, and create what would be supplemented by FaceTime. That's why I believe Facebook will struggle so because it's FaceTime. Actual contact made, because it does develop relationships. But the next bit is how we then come together and make things work or improve upon them. This is currently been designed a bit like a house. We had a site. We realised that there needed to be something that was intergenerational but respected what young people are about and what your agencies can and cannot do. We recognised that the architecture had to have a good sound foundation, so we used it within the Youth Charter Philosophy, Mission and Objectives. As I've said, Youthwise was just about developing through sport and the arts, personal and social skills for life. And there were three major components. Youthwise in schools, so we keep them at school. Youthwise to work, because if we lose them, we need to employ them. And then there's Youthwise to business. So business actually employ the talent that we develop. Three strategic pillars: prevention, Youthwise in schools; Youthwise to work, or Youthwise in the community, intervention; Youthwise to work, actually employing what should result from all of our efforts. We took some building, we took some bricks, we took some materials. I listened to many of the agencies. Deborah and I spoke for many hours. I spoke to Ben East. I came and spoke to, here I think it was, the agency networking events. I went to Connections, we hosted Connections. I spoke to young people and I thought, you aren't connected. Now, some agree that we're all joined up. That's from a policy and agency standpoint. Now you're all arguing based on this morning. We need to now engage and connect. What I want to do is introduce you to Simon Mills because he designed it. He responds to my madness and unreasonable demands, but he has been responsible for the development of the Youth Charter website, but more importantly, he's been in sport and recreation for long enough across the borders to understand what this philosophy, mission and objective is about. So I'm going to have him present how it works, and then we're going to go into, excitingly for me, back into our teams. We're going to add our young guests, and you're going to help decorate the house, furnish it, decide what goes in it, decide what doesn't go in it.
Apart from like the main website I've got there, is obviously got your Youthwise. Is there anything else that young people can access? Because not every young person can use a computer.
There is, that has been factored in, but we wanted to establish what the house looked like. But there will be other elements, and I'm discussing that with the policymakers in this area to see how and what's successful. For instance, it worked out that there'll be a number of accredited centres. And by the way, they'll have a membership. They're going to have a membership card. They're going to belong to something. There's going to be a reward, recognition and respect package. Ben East had one. You've got ASDA cards. We're going to improve on them somewhat. What you put in is what you get out. But there are a number of things we've discussed with business, and all of a sudden it starts to become exciting. But like everything, you build something that says, wrong material, don't like that colour, don't like the carpet, don't like the furniture. So we're doing it the IKEA approach. You decide. Let's work. This is what we have gleaned by what has been realised today. But at the end of today, we will have set ourselves a refurbishing and completion of what it should look like. We'll be having, hopefully, the continued involvement of all of you, which means for the first time ever, and uniquely, there will be a site developed by those who want to make use of the site, connect with the site, and network within the site. And it's not happened this way before. I've checked. Any questions?
Is it going to be just the Blackpool?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm being exclusive for the moment. The aim is to make sure Blackpool works. I went to Blackburn because I was invited to look at what was happening there. And some former colleagues have worked, and there's a similar philosophy. So we'd show how it could work within two different settings, but possibly going about it in a different way. The objective is to make sure it works.
What about Blackpool and all the other sort of wider and surrounding areas? Because it's funding streams.
I know, but the objective is to get the house built on the development, and then we'll build some other houses in the development, and then we'll start to make it work. But this is the most effective way in which I think, by getting your input, we get a house that people go, well, we want one of them, or we'd like to be part of that particular development. And then they start building houses, but we've got to get the basic foundation right. And this is a house that's got to last for a long time. It is not a short-term effort. So I'm leaving it to Simon for a moment. I can sit down and stretch my legs, and he'll explain where we've got to and what we're going to attempt to do this afternoon.
Okay, well this is the site as it stands at the moment, which is essentially a framework and delivery system, and as Jeff says, we're looking for input as to what you actually wanted to deliver and how you want to use it, because neither of us knows how people use the internet. We know how we use the internet, but we don't know how what access you've got to the internet. If they're not in school, they're not in college, they have at home, do they use Facebook, do they use social networking tools? If we gave them another one, would they use that, or would we rather stick to what we're using just now? That's what we want to know. So we've created a site which has a few features which we, from research previously, we've established might be wanted, and then we're just going to develop them and see what happens on that. So the site at the moment, we've got a basic and about section which runs down what Youthwise to Work program is, how it would work, the idea of kind of action planning, setting goals for youths who need goals to achieve in order to get themselves into work. Idea of getting into training, and then after training into employment. That's just a rundown of what the site is. Rick, who does the youth charge design work, he's designed a series of worksheets which start really basically about you, just who you are, what you do, what are your interests and hobbies, your qualities. And what do you do during the day? How do you spend your time? And how much do you spend on work? How much do you spend on education? How much do you spend on hanging out with your mates? Just establishing the day-to-day lifestyle and life-work balance, if there is such a thing. And from that, through going through these sheets, we're getting them to think about what they've got in a CV or an application form without presenting them with an application form. It's a development process, which just gets them thinking about what they do and what are their qualities. Because if, say, do they have qualifications, they might not have qualifications, but they've got qualities which are far more important. And if they can get that out, they can use that as a foundation or an application form or a CV. On that, we've got both a print-based CV and an online CV creator. This isn't online, so I can just show you basically how it would work. Birth, name, date of birth, usual details. And then we're looking for education or experience. For example, we've completed a Youthwise to Work course. You can enter that, you can enter what they learned on that course, and then the date they did. And give a few different examples of that. Their life skills, and what skills do they have which they think are relevant to the job. Their interests and hobbies, and what their best qualities are. They can then submit this on this online site, and they would get an example CV, which they can either download and save if they've got the ability to do that on the computer or print off, and then use directly to give to an employer or a course or whatever they're looking for applying for, and it would list their education experience, the life skills, just sort of things that you generally get on a CV without forcing them to think like they're writing a CV. We've also code through which is an idea in development, which would be an area specific. Obviously, like Jeff said, this is focusing on Blackpool at the moment, and this would give them an opportunity to go into an area where they have their own username and password, which would give them listings for area-specific events, area-specific organisations, pull in news from the BBC website, which is just focused purely on Blackpool, say images from Flickr, that kind of thing. So basically giving them one page they can go to, which then gives them all the information for their age group, for young people, and you can select, say, if they're into reading, if they're 18 or over, that kind of area. They can select which age, what sort of things are interested in, and they get a page which pulls in information from the internet from various feeds and sources like the BBC or sports organisations, and just displays it all on one page. They can access that page, you can see what's going on in their area at a given time. I'm quite interested in that. And then you can, instead of having to search, because that's always seems to be a problem that people can't find things or they don't know where to go. So if this pulls it in for them, they just go straight to one page and it's all there. We're also looking at the passport to leisure, integration with the passport to leisure organisations. Pull that in, so if they become a member of Co-Crew or whatever it's going to be called, they can have all this as a package and they can access it all online. Probably the most important bit is the vision board and lifestyle diary. And this again is similar to the idea of creating goals, lifestyle goals, and working towards them. Find out, establish what youth wants to do, what they want to achieve, both in life and career, and then we set out goals which they can map and update online, like a blog. You know what a blog is? Or, yeah, cool. So they can chart their progress online, and then it'll be private, but people can go and comment on it if they can allow access to certain individuals who can go and comment on it. The vision board works in a similar way, but it is more a forum. So you can go and just post what your dreams are, and organisations who might be able to help can post, say, we've got some places on a course or something coming up, we then be interested. It's just an open discussion board, because obviously days like today are great, but that's not going to happen every week. Whereas if people could just sign into something and just post, here's an opportunity, or there's a meeting, or like you didn't know where to go for the youth council things, people could just go into this area and post it, and you sign in, you can go, alright, this youth council meeting was quite interested in that. So it is a communication system, and site really is looking at working as a forum, a communication, and a delivery system. We can deliver the sheets, but more of a house, as you said. People can go and use it, but we just want to know how people would want to use it. Because obviously they're going to need internet access, and is that metered? Can you sign into any sites? I don't know what your internet access is like. How easily can you access it? Yeah, I mean, can you go places where you can get online? You know, you can go to the libraries, but you go in for like half an hour, and you feel like you're already lost. So do you get the opportunities to use it?
Can I go back and look at something?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Good idea, bad idea. First
I'm
dish.
kind of wondering who your target audience is. Is it kind of me young people, or is it any young person?
We would obviously be starting with a specific group of young people to develop it and ensure that we've got it about right. I've learned it's always good to get a committed group of young people, because they will then, as a result of what they experience, share that with others. There is still no better communication tool other than word of mouth. But the objective is to start somewhere. And as Leeds had been the focus of energy that got me back into Blackpool, I decided it was a good place to start.
I'm just thinking from my perspective, my case of people, I have problems getting them out of bed in the morning, let alone they're using their qualities, because they don't know what qualities they have.
But as I've said, like most things, Simon asked the question, most young people have raised it, you've now confirmed it. It is about how they get motivated. I still believe that, I know most of them still want a credit card, and they still want their top-up card. I think if they have a card that gives them everything, and we are working on how that card works, and I'm discussing with business from airtime to travel, getting A to B, the type of incentives we get from our supermarkets, the type of incentives everyone tries to load onto us just to get our brand loyalty and our purchasing power. We're translating that to young people to not only empower them, employ them, but to reward them. So I don't think this will work unless the 3 R's we call in the streets, reward, recognition and respect, are actually doing that for them. But as I've said, it's something that won't work until we see if it does work. And all I've then done is looked at globally what's happening, and this is about where it's at. But, like everything, if it's a bad idea, then we talk about case studies and why things don't work. If it's a good idea, then I want to use the quality time we've got with these young people to put you in your teams, use the laptops, and tell us what's good and what's bad about it, and what you want to see in it. So I'm a great believer in democracy. If it's a good enough idea, then we use the time that's always invaluable.
Are we saying that a young person can log on to here, post a message, and then all of us as professionals are going to be able to answer that question for them?
They would. That is what we envisage. That's what we want to happen. We need to make sure that all of the protocols, the sign up, the agencies who sign up to it will have access. One thing we've had to spend a lot of time on is securing the information, the details of the individuals, and making sure that it is both effective in what it tries to do, and more importantly, what it protects. Information. It is the most valuable because it's information sensitive.
Because my only concern with that would be if I see something that's posted up there, and I'm from the college say, I would say, oh, I can offer you this. And I know it's good for everybody for them to know all their options, but I'll be saying, oh, I can offer this is a good opportunity. Then my ESCO might be saying, this is a really good opportunity. Connections might be saying something completely different. And like there might be a bit of a conflict of views, rather than like one person, say from Connections or somewhere, what could say.
I prefer that as a problem to what we have this morning as no problem.
Yeah.
We have a massive challenge, and what I'm saying is, well, I'm still getting to the point, you're raising very valid points. I think you could raise them a lot more effectively within the time we've got left. And I'm very, very mindful that I'd like just to add the young people to the teams we've got, use a blank sheet of paper, and tell us what the pluses and the minuses are, and what you as a team would want to see happen. In America, they give you a house, and they go, here's the shell, what do you want in it? And they walk you through the house and say, I want that there, and they get the house that they want, and everybody makes it happen. That's how I decided we should go about this site, born out of what I was hearing from everybody else.
Can I just ask about the CV? Is everything be able to check that for you in person?
Yeah, but there are agencies that are doing that.
Yeah.
I went into a connections office, there was a young person who wanted to come and have their CV checked. They sat there for half an hour and they walked out and no one even knew they'd gone. It was lunchtime. I sent it to the computer. I don't think he had the computer literacy, and he didn't want to be the mick taken out of him by his mate. I'm not here to convince you. What I'm here to say is, get in your teams, find out what you think is good or bad about it, because that's what you're asking me now. But we've still got the young people on the outside, and I thought it was about bringing them on the inside.
Looking at education employment side of it, specific information.
Maybe something else you can get on other thingies though.
Yeah, you can't get on it as yet.
I know, but maybe see like